Hello everyone, welcome back to another live stream. Give me a few moments to see if everything is set up correctly. Or maybe you guys just want to let me know when you can hear me. I guess we'll do it that way. Oh, there we go. Hi there. So, where should I even start? It has been quite some time, I think, since last stream. So the reason for why I haven't been doing any videos recently is, to put it simply, just simply because of my studies. My classes started again and I got really busy. But nevertheless, I still enjoy 3D modeling and drawing, and I want to show you some new projects, and I will be working on a little bit here today. And so I'm very happy to be back for today. So who do we have? Quite a few people joining already. Oh wow, I'm always so surprised at how quickly people join the live streams. Okay, then in that case, let me get started. I'll tell you a few things. So what the big news is, not on my side, but on like ZBrush side, is that they have released in the meantime ZBrush 2018, and it was made available for all the people who bought the license of ZBrush, so I also had access to it. And so I was thinking of like going through the new features today, because to tell the truth, I've since then not been able to play around with it at all, so so it will be very interesting for me, and I think it will be interesting for you as well to tag along. Hi there to Spain. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Oh my god, my English. How are you guys doing? But before we start, I wanted to show you one particular project that I did in the meantime. That's kind of what I usually do, isn't it, when I start the live streams? I'm still doing sculpting, of course, but I've been very interested in drawing recently, and my main focus has really shifted to what should I say, drawing faces. And although I'm not really very good at it yet, I've spent lots of time on getting better. And so I want to quickly share some strategies with you that I use to get better at drawing faces. So in drawing, I'm pretty sure that all of you who try to get good at something, whether it's drawing or sculpting, you've been told that you need lots of practice, and the more you practice drawing faces, or the more you practice modeling something, the better you'll get. And maybe somebody will have told you that if you draw 1,000 faces, you'll be able to get it right. So I wanted to challenge that saying, and so I started a challenge that is basically to draw 1,000 faces, which is a lot, believe it or not. Like, if you think about drawing one face in, let's say, 10 minutes, which is quite a quick sketch. It's not, if you really spend a good amount of time on drawing a face, you could draw for hours or days, I don't know. But even if I make it very minimalistic and I just try to learn from every sketch as much as I can, it takes around 5 to 10 minutes at least for one sketch. And then doing just 100 of them is like 17 hours already. So 1,000 is a lot. But I still did like the first 10% of the challenge so far, and I want to share the process quickly. Oh man, I spoiled all the pictures now. This is the first one I wanted to show. Let's start at the beginning, I guess. Yeah, so I drew 100 faces in the meantime, and I quickly want to tell you what I learned from doing so and how I went about doing it. The idea basically behind this practice was to find methods that allow me to draw faces over and over from different angles and to construct them. So I heard about a technique by Andrew Loomis, and if you're interested, he actually published a book that's called Drawing the Head and Hands, again by Andrew Loomis. And I've heard that many artists make use of his techniques, and I also saw some other artists on YouTube streaming and mentioning him, so I looked into it a little and I kind of applied his techniques to the head. And now in these first 2 pages that I can show you here, this one and the second one here, my main goal was just to be able to kind of draw it from various angles to, well, get more used to drawing. I'm not so much of a drawing person anyways, but so that was the first start for me. And you can see that maybe at the beginning it looks very stiff, very constructed, maybe distorted in various places, not too accurate. But at least I was able to get a little bit of freedom over the angle where I want to look at it. And I can give you later on maybe a little bit of a breakdown how it works, but to put it very simple, you start out with a sphere, you make a few separations, and then you add a chin. And on top of that, that's basically your proportional guideline perspective grid sort of thing that you can then use to add more facial features on top of that. And so that's what I did on this page, at least I tried. So I started adding like eyes, noses, and more details to the faces. For some of them here, I worked with photo reference. For some, I didn't. I think there's also 1 or 2 where I drew from when I drew a person who was sitting nearby. But you can see that, like, or at least for me, what I noticed with this page in particular is that with the construction method, my faces end up being very similar. There's very little difference between them. They and also, well, maybe we can see that better on the next page that I can show you here. Like it starts to get better. It starts to look more like people, which was good. Also, there's less distortion over time. However, I felt that on the one hand, with this technique that I used of construction, they kind of lose personality a little bit. On the other hand, it's hard to say if these are stylized or if they're realistic. I don't know where exactly I was going wrong here, but I was kind of not satisfied at this point with the balance between realistic and stylized. I'm not sure what I was really going for and with the result. But apart from that, you can still see that, you know, this is now between number 50 and number 70. There is definitely an improvement to the beginning. I mean, let's just go back. This is the best I could do at the beginning, right? So 50 drawings later, that's already a big deal. Now moving on in the series of the 100 faces that I drew, I tried to draw them a bit bigger, and I spent more time of them, which kind of didn't really work out. I'm not really happy with this page in particular. I figured that spending too much focus on and time on faces in the sketching phase kind of ends up making them very inconsistent in style, and it doesn't allow me to really have control over it. So if I was to draw them bigger, I would have to focus maybe a little bit on loosening up and still drawing as if it was small. So I kind of went back to smaller again, but I'm trying to again draw from reference mostly again. Well, it's kind of mixed. I cannot exactly tell which one was from reference, which isn't. But yeah, this is now the final page, so we reach 100 at this point, and so you can see that 100 faces is a good, well, you make process. It is something where you can actually see your improvement. If anybody wants to try that, it doesn't take too much time. I mean, 17 hours is maybe, it sounds like a bit, but honestly, for drawing in practice, that's not going to be like your ultimate goal yet. But what I want to say is, basically my experience with this project was that after doing 100 drawings, it feels very good because you can actually see your improvement, and it gives you hope that if you continue this sort of thing, that you'll get somewhere. And the last picture that I want to show you is now the next stage for me. That's really where I am right now. I want to, you know, go the next 100 and eventually reach the 1000 that I kind of set myself as a goal. And in this page in particular, I don't know why exactly with the 100th drawing I changed, but I kind of started to be really happy with the way I kind of approach it. Like I found a better balance between stylized and realistic. The faces look a bit more natural, they have a bit more character to them, Of course, I'm drawing from reference here, but I make sure that when I draw these portraits that I don't copy the lines as in proportions. Instead, I construct them. So I start with a sphere that's oriented roughly the same way as my reference, and I start to construct it based on what I have in front of me. So it's very different really from sketching just from a picture. So the learning that I wanted to get from it, where I am now better able to draw faces from imagination, definitely happened, and I just thought it was an inspiring story to share to all of you, so that if anybody out there wants to get into drawing and thinks that it's like too much of a challenge to even attempt or something, that this could be an example to show that you actually make a lot of progress if you really spend the time and the focus and just go through the practice. But maybe I don't suggest to be too stubborn about it. For example, I said I'm going to draw 1,000 faces, but I realized that in between I will have to take some time off and look into details about certain elements I'm not too sure about. For example, if I don't feel comfortable about noses, I might want to just do a few studies about noses apart from this series and then come back and continue. So just making 1,000 faces without really learning from it doesn't seem too good of an idea to me. So I don't know, that's where I'm at right now anyways. I hope you enjoyed getting an insight into this, and I'll share again once I'm like at the 200 mark. But let me know, what did you think? I will go back to ZBrush for now and act as if I'm working on something. Or maybe I should read the comments for a second. Yeah, well, about Blender and modeling, it's kind of a difficult question for me recently, because what I realized doing 3D and art these days is that a 3D model can never be the final result. What I want to say is that when you make a 3D model, what you show the audience is always a 2D picture of the 3D model, or a movie in which the 3D model shows up, and something along those lines. The only way to really have a 3D model be presented as a 3D model is to make it a sculpture, which rarely ever happens, or it's kind of expensive to make and I don't have the tools. So it's kind of frustrating to spend all my time on learning something that can never be shown as is, or it's very hard to explain to people. And so I figured that for my situation that I want to focus more, these days at least, on something that is easier to make a finished product, or at least I need to add skills to my skill set that allow me to take my 3D models and make them a finished product. So I need to learn about 2D, about drawing, about all these things in order to make my 3D models, in order to make people understand the value of my 3D models. So that's why I'm kind of getting a bit more distant recently from my 3D models and trying to learn more about the other things around. And I see everybody's sharing their time. 12 p.m. in 3 p.m. Anybody in AM? Oh, okay, Lil, I'm so sorry for you. 2:30 a.m. there. Oh, well. But thanks for joining anyway, everybody. I feel very honored. So I guess then I will move on with a few things about ZBrush. So as I said at the very beginning, ZBrush in the meantime published a new version of their software. They call it now ZBrush 2018, and I was quite excited about it, but as I said, I was really busy with classes and assignments and everything, so I didn't have the time to work with it yet. So I want to explore it a little bit today and take you along for that. The feature that excites me the most really is this little button up here. They call it Sculptress Pro, and if you may have heard about Sculptress, that's what used to be it used to be this free additional software that Pixologic offered that allows you to kind of sculpt without worrying about the resolution. It will just add detail wherever you need it. And they've now introduced that to ZBrush, and you can easily see the effect of it. So it's kind of not very high resolution here, but as soon as I kind of drag something, why not? It was supposed to, at least. Let's take another brush. It's supposed to make like new geometry, as it does here. Maybe it doesn't work with all brushes, or there's something I don't know yet, but where this usually wouldn't be enough geometry to create these kind of shapes, now ZBrush allows you to do this. And if you smooth on it, for example, you can make it disappear as well. So it works both directions. It adds geometry wherever you need it, and it also dynamically removes it when you don't need it anymore. So I want to try modeling something with that now. Does anybody want to make a suggestion? Just let me know if you have an idea. Otherwise, I'll just go for some face or a head, since I've been drawing so many faces recently. Maybe I'll just get started with that for now and see if any good suggestions come in. Sculpt your own face. I mean, I'm pretty sure I won't be that successful trying that. It's kind of like Dyna Topo? What do they call it in Blender again? Dynamesh is the ZBrush one. I'm not sure anymore. Okay, let me start over with a new mesh though. Alright, so, and this may actually be a good opportunity to explain the construction method that I was using for my drawings. You guys have great ideas. So particular. Alright, let me try. Well, let me get started. So, in that drawing method, what I learned was you start basically with a sphere where you cut off on both sides like a plane, and it's not entirely a straight cut, as I figured out a bit later. It's kind of tilted to the front a little. Actually, I'll enter. Oh, I'm in perspective mode. Okay, that's fine then. Let's see. So, because of the shape of the skull, we're kind of estimating it with this sphere. We kind of need the cut to be slightly tilted forwards and slightly tilted in a way that it's like narrower at the top and wider at the bottom. And so this is sort of the shape that we'll start out with, and I will now use a different brush. Where is it? The Dam Standard, to draw a few lines, just to show you how the method works. The next thing you would basically do is kind of go straight through the sphere, and this will be your guideline for where the eyebrows are, which is also something that was quite surprising and new for me, because usually you other methods try to capture the eyes first, but this is the line of the eyebrows. And there's another line that we try to draw here. There was two ways to getting that. You can either go like down here and make it a straight line at 45 degrees, or just kind of follow it from this side to line up with the bottom of the cut that you made here. But you get a point here, and what you want to do is basically to take this length and to double it, and that will be where your chin goes. So let's guess that a little bit, maybe around here. And now I'll just drag it, or should I add a new object? Let me actually add a new primitive so that we don't get too messy with what we're doing here. So I'm taking, where is it? I haven't yet set this new version of ZBrush up, so like all my brushes used to be in the bar at the bottom, but now I have to come up with them new. So here's some primitives. You get to choose which one you want to put in here, and I guess I'll just start with a cube. Let's put it here. And we also get these transformation tools here that are a bit different, I heard. But maybe this is not the newest part. I think this was new in the last version of ZBrush, not in this one particular. Oh, thanks. Let me quickly go to some comments. I like this comment there. Yeah, just want to quickly answer to two questions. So for Khalil, so he's saying, so you'll focus on drawing more than your 3D sculpts now, basically. Yeah, for now. And the idea is that by learning how to draw them, in order to learn how to draw them, I need to understand them really well, like inside out, and know the shape. It turns out that I really need to know how the shape works almost better in drawing than here. Or maybe my knowledge is saturated with knowing it all in 3D space. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I feel that learning about drawing them actually ends up improving my sculpts as well. So it's in every way an improvement if I spend some time on drawing. So for now at least I'm kind of focusing on drawing them, and then I can go back and sculpt them and make like use 3D as a tool to enhance my 2D art. That's kind of my strategy at the moment. And the other give me a second, where was the comment? So then there was Chewy said something. Did I lose the comment? Where is it now? Oh yeah. Yeah, so Chewy's saying, are you using that guy sketching technique you mentioned just now, like a base or something? And that pretty much connects to what I just said here. Basically, there is this technique that I used for drawing all the heads and sketches that I showed earlier in the stream, and that's for one example for how my drawings enhance my 3D modeling, because even though it's a method that I use for drawing, I can now use it in 3D to get the proportions right, and we'll see how it turns out. But it feels a lot, I feel a lot more confident using these kind of techniques. And hi, Jester Monocle. Thanks for joining. All right. Let's see. Now, what I did here now, just to explain a little bit, is I added the chin geometry, and the way I would do it in drawing is you want to extend here a line downwards, which starts around the middle here, kind of tilted to the front, and then I told you how we came up with the position of the chin, right? So we take this line here, we take the second line that connects to the base of the cutoff that we did here, and at about twice the length we get the chin. And so I give the chin a little bit of width that depends on whether it's a male or a female character. You make it wider or narrower depending on that, and then you basically want to connect those two lines at the chin. So in 2D it's a bit easier because it's just lines and points. In 3D I guess I need to make up a little bit of geometry in between, so it takes a bit more time. But that's how I came up with the shape, pretty much. And so let's see. I could merge them together at this point, because pretty much this is our basic layout or basic proportions for the head, and everything, if everything goes well, this will fall, everything will fall in place quite nicely. So I'll merge everything together now using, can I do that with, how do I do that? What happens if I go into Sculptris Pro mode now with two meshes and I brush over the edge? So apparently objects don't connect. So I guess in order to merge objects, you still have to use Dynamesh. Okay, that's interesting. Let's try that again with a bit more resolution. Alright then. I'm sorry, I've never played Street Fighter, so I'm not sure. Yuki Jin, I'm not sure, sorry. Uh, when I learned, another question here is how long it took me to learn ZBrush. I think ZBrush is actually quite difficult to get into. It's a very confusing user interface when you're new to it. Like, the things don't make much sense. The way you have this canvas and it's 2.5D and then you have edit mode, but once you leave you cannot go back and something like that. But I think for me it was mostly the persistence that allowed me to learn it. So I never said at one point I'll now learn ZBrush and then and then I learned it. It was more of I tried over and over and I failed over and over, and at least I learned some things every time, and over the time I knew enough things to kind of create models. So it took me definitely a few years, but the first time for me using sculpting technique was maybe 4 to 5 years ago, so it's not too much of time. I'm myself quite new to the software. Oh yeah, and it's ZBrush 2018. I really recommend character artists though to, like, not to avoid sculpting if they're still in polygon modeling. I know that polygon modeling is eventually necessary for creating final assets, but I feel that recently without sculpting, character artists have a pretty hard time in the industry, because sculpting seems to be very superior in like creative freedom. I think sculptors are being 2D artists and 3D artists at the same time, so they need to be kind of able to make concepts and character designs and also be able to make the 3D model and final product with all the details. I think that's what gives them superiority, whereas with kind of polygon modeling, I feel at least that you kind of split the work between a really good artist who comes up with a great design and the modeler who just focuses on converting the design into a 3D model. So sculpting is, in my opinion, becoming a tool that makes the people who can use it very valuable to any project, because they can be applied in various fields. So when I hear people saying they want to model and they're into kind of polygon modeling, I always try to suggest them to look into sculpting still, but the transition is very difficult. Oh well, I guess you guys just have fun talking in the chat there. What else is there? Khalil, thanks for the questions all the time. I really appreciate them. So, in your opinion, what do you feel is the best? Should you ditch 3D until you have a solid foundation in 2D? Is that what you're aiming for? I don't regret anything of the things that I've learned so far. I feel that the kind of the randomness in learning and learning things that might not directly be connected to what you'll eventually do in your profession is very useful, because it gives you so much additional knowledge that others will not have around you. So if I was just doing art as a 2D artist, it would have been so difficult for me to make the jump into 3D. But now that I am coming from a 3D background, I'm kind of taking the other approach from what other people would usually do, and so it puts me kind of in a unique position. So I don't think it was a bad decision at all, but at the same time, having come this far, I'm always thinking about the current situation. What at the moment is the best thing I can learn and do in order to achieve the things that I set as my goals. So that's something I think about at all times. I just like to think of the things as very connected. 2D and 3D aren't really different things necessarily, because as I said, when we make a 3D model, a 3D artwork, we are not really creating the 3D as the final product. The final piece is usually a 2D render, and sometimes it is sculpture actually as a 3D print, but most of the times it's an animation, it's an illustration or something like that. And so how can you make a good illustration only using 3D tools without knowing about 2D. So, well, it's more like the same thing in that context, so it makes sense to study both, on both sides at least something. And I'll try to get into a little bit more detail here. It's always difficult for me to talk and to sculpt at the same time. So here is the center line, right? And then we had it split in half around here. By the way, this is the line where the nose is going to be. And we said that this is where the eyebrows go, so we're going to make a little bit of a elevated eyebrow line. I haven't done this in a while in 3D, so I'll be doing a bit of guessing here, but I sort of have an idea where things go. So the eyes will go a bit below that. Let's just make some space for them. And the nose will go here. Alright. And with that in place, we can maybe use the move brush again to move things into place. And so, yeah, using kind of construction techniques, it gives you more confidence because you're not guessing every single time. You have something to base it on. And construction methods, usually the way they work is that they usually give you a grid or something to build upon that is usually already in perspective and rotated into the right direction, which allows you to focus then on like the facial features individually without having to like, you won't be overwhelmed by having to do too much things at the same time. Yeah, a very big nose. Hey, by the way, this is not a self-portrait, okay? Don't get me wrong. So, I can tell you some other stories in the meantime. What have I been doing while I wasn't making videos? I was involved in a bunch of things that seem so irrelevant to what I usually do here online. I somehow got myself involved into a business case competition here at university that, I mean, it's not a big thing, it's not a huge thing, it's just an opportunity to learn from me anyways. So don't think like it's a huge competition or anything great. But it's a collaboration between 3 universities, so I get to meet a few new people from these other places, and we'll have to work on this project together. And what I'm really happy about is that that by doing this project, the teacher that kind of got me involved into this says that this will count as our main assignment for the class. So I get to do this cool competition instead of a class final project assignment. So that's pretty cool because I get just to get more experience and less work that doesn't seem to have so much purpose. And among other things, I'm working on getting the artist community together at my university here. So we're planning to do a sketch session where we just call all the people who are interested into drawing, and we try to give them a place to draw and meet new people who are into that. And just class, I guess. I mean, I have Japanese class and a bunch of business classes, and all of them have assignments, obviously. The new term just started 2 weeks ago. What a question. I'm not Asian, I'm from Austria. Let's see. I actually wanted to try the Sculptris Pro, but I'm starting to figure out that that's actually not too useful for sculpting the details. I guess you might want to use this particularly when you make big changes. For example, if I was now going to give him like a huge hairstyle like this, and I want to make it a hair geometry, and I just want to build up what's not there yet. Actually, I might just leave it there. That looks fun. Yeah, let's go with that. That's his hairstyle. And so you can use Sculptris Pro here to add a lot of geometry at once. But once you go into details, it seems not to be all that useful to stay in this mode. We'll see. Again, if I was to do the ears or the neck, maybe I might want to stay in this mode, as I do here, so that I don't get kind of artifacts and stretched geometry. However, once I go into detail, I will probably turn it off again, because I don't want to accidentally remove details at places where I wasn't intending to remove anything. And maybe another good application for it would be adding very fine detail, for example wrinkles in particular places. Then you might want to turn it on again. This is from what I can tell so far. Atomic bomb hairstyle. Yeah. Definitely. For now I'll stay less detailed so that I can get the oval shape right. Which is easier to mold, male or female characters? I'm not sure anymore. At some point, well, I used to have a clear preference, but after spending a lot of time on construction methods and things like that, it feels like there's not too much difference anymore. Or more like all my female characters start to look more male, and all my male characters, like, they kind of meet in the middle. So maybe it's not one of them in particular being difficult. The challenge is more to really push their personality, their gender, their character, and all of that to really tell from the design. Maybe that's really what the challenging part is. But I wouldn't say that there's one that I like in particular, one of the two. Am I sculpting my dream face? But a hairstyle like that is impressive, don't you think? I mean, how would you style your hair even? Can't imagine. Maybe not my taste. I think I would go for something different. So, for example, giving him a white chin here in this case, giving him strong showing brow, what do you call it? I forget. Anyways, but making this area where the eyebrow is kind of strong and standing out is also one of the features that gives him kind of a very male look. And making the eyes sharp maybe and narrow instead of round and bigger or wider is maybe another thing. So there's many things that you learn kind of looking at faces and studying them that tells you what the differences are, and I'm just trying to strategically apply them to tell the story or the person that I want to make. What are you guys modeling recently? Are most of you also interested in character modeling? I'm a bit curious again to hear about you guys. I know that most people who come on this channel are here because of the character modeling series that I posted. So I assume there will be lots of people doing anime style or what else? Mostly character modeling, I suppose. If anybody wants to ask for, I don't know, tell their story, ask for advice, or tell their goal and see what I can see what I can add on that, anything, just let me know. I wonder, I kind of want to join other artists' stream myself and ask questions, speaking of it. I really don't do that too much. now that I mention it. But I wonder what would I be asking. Alright, let me not get too focused on the details. I'll regret it later. But very quickly though, I have to say that I'm surprised myself right now at how much more comfortable I feel sculpting now after having drawn 100 faces. This is really the first sculpt that I'm making since in a month? No, maybe not quite a month, but in quite a long time. And the only projects in the meantime that I did was the drawings of the faces that I showed you all. So far I can really say that it does make a difference to do drawings. Anyways. Let me share quickly Norris's comment. He's saying, I do a lot of character modeling. I usually do my own character concept design, and now I'm learning animation because we don't have very good animators in our country. May I ask where you're from? I'm curious. But I like how, when I look at artists around, and especially at where my skills are, it's so good and useful when you can do art and modeling at the same time, because concept art is really about making a design that tells a story, making a design where it is a coherent, it doesn't look fake, it's a convincing personality, or if it's a story, it's a convincing story. And that's really, really difficult. And so many artists might be good at drawing, but at the same time they can really not have this ability to come up with these new convincing things, these interesting concepts that people will want to look at. So hearing that story, I thought it was great that that you do both. Zambia, you're from Zambia. Oh my god, I actually have to look this up now, because where is that? And I thought I know about the world. Wow, I feel very honored to have viewers from such a place. Cool. Okay. I would love to hear more about the industry there. Is there any 3D industry going on in Zambia? By the way, I completely forgot to mention. Did I even talk about this? That I went to the 3D meetup in Tokyo and I met like a bunch of people working in the industry. Like I did the video making a shout out and saying whoever's in Japan should come to Tokyo and we'll meet up. And so we had that event actually last month, and a few people came. We had a good afternoon chatting about our projects, and I was so impressed because the Blender community there, like here in Japan, is actually quite impressive. Their projects, their techniques were amazing, and because two of them I think were working in the industry, like for actual animation studios, and they were using Blender to some extent to create actual animations. I was really impressed, especially because that's the kind of thing that is not being shared in any community. But it once again reminded me of how powerful Blender actually is, and that it's really the skill of the artist that makes the product. It's not like the software is not the limiting factor by any means. that was my experience there. So Zambia has a little bit of an industry there in 3D. That's really cool. What about my country? I'm from Austria, but like they have stuff, but I feel like most of the things are a bit half-hearted. As soon as things grow bigger, they would go to Germany or other countries. So we only have smaller things going on in Austria. Nothing too exciting there. I wonder why my faces often end up looking angry. I don't mean to do that, but maybe it's an easy expression to show, because we can easily describe how an angry looking face looks like, what an angry face looks like. But relaxed is not very easy to define, isn't it? A relaxed face is just none of the various movements in particular, but you have to put them somewhere. Anyways, let me move on with the lips maybe for a moment before I get too stuck on the details here. But I'm quite happy with it so far. Kind of looks cool. So, and my anatomy knowledge definitely starts to gives me the feeling that it adds value to the product, to the 3D model. I mean, of course, the way I can add this kind of shape to the mouth and understand that this makes that this is necessary in this position, kind of. Of course, it's far from accurate. There's a lot of things that I get wrong still, but I think practicing fundamentals and learning about the things, and it does pay off. I mean, my strategy is pretty much the same as most of you probably. I just go on YouTube and listen to the great artists, to what they say, and I try to apply their techniques to my own life and the way I practice. So from my experience so far, I think it works pretty good. Should I give him a mustache? That sounds fun. That could be really good, actually. Let me try. Do I need Sculptors Pro for that? Is it that much of a volume? Let's try. Oh boy. I mean, why not? Why not? Why not a mustache? Any other ideas? Feel free to let me know. It's really fun to sculpt with people giving suggestions. That's really interactive and engaging, I feel. So I'm trying to add a neck here, and this is again one of the points where the Sculptors Pro seems to be really useful. Or would I prefer to do this with a primitive? I'm not sure, but I'll try it this way for this one, because I want to see how I can make use of these new tools that were added in ZBrush 2018. So something along those lines here should be good. That's a thin neck. Oh yeah, Kaylin, don't worry about it. Thanks for joining, and thanks as always for the questions. I can't imagine staying up at 3 a.m., 3:20 a.m. and still looking at this stream. So thanks for joining. See you again next time. So there's a bunch of other tools actually that ZBrush has now. I don't exactly know what it is, but they have something called Deformer Gizmos in 2018 version of this software that have like bevel features, but that's more like polygon modeling tools. I'm not entirely sure. I wanted to play around with them, but at this rate I'm not sure if I will get a chance to. And I saw something about tools for polygrouping, but I really didn't look into it too much yet, I must admit. So there we go, a bit of a neck. What other topic is there I can talk about? Any questions? Like, I'm sure all of you have some situation that kind of brings you here listening to the stream. I'm really curious about kind of what situation you guys are in, and if there's anything, any opinion I can give you or something, some discussion I can bring up. Because most of the times artists tend to be quite isolated and alone with their way of doing, way of learning. There's not much opportunity to share really what we artists are working on. So if anybody has something. Yeah, sorry Jester, but I mean, I guess that's not quite my topic, but thanks for reminding me. Aw, sad face. Speaking of which, actually, I'm happy that YouTube added this feature where the chat is now showing up in the what is it? Like later on when people watch it on YouTube, not as a live stream but as a video, because now I can finally fill up the whole screen with ZBrush and I don't have to keep the chat on the side anymore. Cool. Computer scientists here. What kind of projects do you do as a computer scientist? That's a comment from Eurocyan. Oh my god, I cannot pronounce the name. The mustache looks a bit like too much. I feel like the mustache is overkill. Where should I go with it? He needs more neck. Definitely. Another thing I can talk about maybe is about time scheduling techniques. One of the things we really need to, like, people who want to get better at art anyways, really need to do is manage their time well, because all of us have maybe a job, maybe you guys are students, other responsibilities to take care of, and it can be so easy to find excuses for why right now it is not possible to work on art. And so what could you do against that? how can you fight against that feeling? One technique that I heard that is quite effective is that you, of course, after you sat down and you decided your goals, we kind of assume that you have that in mind, that you make your to-do list always on the day before. You want to avoid waking up or like having time and starting to think then about what you want to do now, because as soon as you start thinking about it, you'll find other things that you could do instead that might sound more interesting, more entertaining. So usually it's the best when you think about your free time one day in advance and you plan already what you want to do. And you can even go as far as planning spontaneous things. Like you can say, here is a slot for 1 hour slot for spontaneous activities, and then you could just, you know, play the guitar or maybe go outside, whatever your hobby might be, like anything. But at least it takes you out of the situation where you sit down and you're like, okay, what should I do now? And then you think, I could do drawings, but I could also go and have fun with friends. And usually people will decide to do something that's fun. And so maybe we should not get into that situation in the first place. And another thing is really think about what you're passionate about. I found out for myself that I really like faces more than anything else. I want to know everything about faces and how they're exactly, what kind of facial features give what kind of personality, and how to design them to fit like various stories. That's really what I want to look more into. So, and every time I think about it, do I want to do some art now? And I can remember that how passionate I am about knowing more about faces and how great it will be when I know about it. So it really gives me motivation every single time I think about it. ZBrush is saving my undo history. That seems like taking some time. I don't like that very much though. I will turn that off. There is supposed to be... How does it work again? Preferences. Is there quick save? I'm not entirely sure where it was, but somewhere there's a place to turn off saving the history. Maybe it was here. Undo history. If I turn this off, maybe it will not save it anymore. Okay, here's another nice suggestion to avoid that kind of situation where you have the choice to do fun things. Just don't make friends. Well, I guess to some extent that is how many artists get their skill. That at some point they just didn't have many people around them, so the only way they could get attention or get through life is by doing art. But that's not the ideal solution, is it? I think there is very well a way to learn art without having to be isolated and doing it alone. And I think that very well having lots of social contact with people who don't have anything to do with art really can be beneficial to your motivation level and to your kind of health to some extent. So I wouldn't suggest trying to cut all ties with people around you just for art, but that's just my my take on that. Oh man. What's going on with the chat today? Yeah, sorry guys, I won't answer any question that you guys may ask, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. That's too bad. But I like to keep this channel a bit focused on what I think is the right things that are useful for the people who will come to this stream. So yeah, I just want to make it. Let me just put it this way: I'm not here as an entertainer, which I could be better at. I mean, there wouldn't be any problem. I wish I could be more entertaining, but mostly I'm trying to be a place for people to come, get more opinions, to learn and get inspired. So that's what I offer. And I hope people enjoy it anyways. Yeah, it's a family-friendly show. That's a good way to put it. But I think like these days in particular, the sharing of knowledge is one of the most important things. We're finally at a point where most people have the freedom to do whatever they want to do with their time and learn things that they're interested in. And so I feel that people should not be limited by not being able to get the information. So I'm always trying to share as much knowledge as I can so that other people can learn and create the things that they want to create by themselves. Well, I'm not avoiding the question. What should I say? You know, for Lola quickly, I think there's many good resources online. You can, I think if you look a little bit, there is many artists on YouTube sharing information on that. So feel free to look it up, I guess. I'm not avoiding, I'm not saying it's a weird question or anything. That's totally fine and alright, but let me just work on my hat for now, I guess. Anyways. So do we need the mustache? What do you guys think? Or should I add something? Maybe he needs even more. Okay, that sounds good. I'll keep the mustache then. Let's give the mustache a bit more attention then. I feel sorry for it. It's screaming for attention. So lonely down there with not enough geometry yet. You know what? This is such a good opportunity to use the snake hook brush. Can we make it a very fancy beard? Let's see if that works out. Where are my brushes? Inflate. Okay, that's too much. Ew, no. Let's not do that. What can I do about this one? Maybe like this. Another thing, actually, I can talk a little bit about my design thoughts working on this character, because after a while I realized that I want to make it a little bit of an aggressive looking, strong looking male character, and one of the techniques that you can use to convey that message is using particular shapes that communicate, and triangles and lots of corners, in particular sharp corners, will give that impression. So what I'm trying to do, for example, is giving, you know, his hairstyle is kind of sharp, his hairline is very sharp. You can see that many of the things that I put into my design here have sharp corners and sharp lines, which is actually a very important part of why this character looks so maybe not strong, but like determined. That's maybe a better word. So definitely think about these kind of things when you model a character. These are things that will really make a difference and make your character design in particular outstanding compared to other people's. I want to give him like a really flat like face on top of that hair, like that. That looks funny. I wonder how tough it must be for this person to style his hair every morning. How long do you think it takes to style the hair like that? No, I don't think I could do this with a mouse. I'm definitely relying on my pen tablet here. Wonderful. 3 times slower than women doing makeup. He cares about his looks. He really does. I'll try once again to give him eyes now, but it's one of my weaknesses. So we'll see how that goes. I want to make them very thin and very high, very close to the eyebrows. And so one thing that's really difficult every time I do eyes is, even if I get the shape in a way that I can live with from the front view, I always turn it around the face, and then I figure out that from the side view the depth of the eyes is way different from what I would want to have. And so I end up going back and forth a lot fixing the eyes usually, so really struggling still with the shape of eyes. I see that many artists put in a sphere, and I do that often too these days, but this time I didn't feel like that was so necessary right now. Maybe I should though. I'll see how it goes. But how can I make this work? Eyes are definitely one of the more difficult parts in the face, in my opinion. Feel free to let me know your comments if you feel like too narrow, too small, not enough wrinkles, something like that. I'll try to get it there in the meantime. And then it's always very frustrating when I was actually happy with the sculpt before making eyes, and then I add eyes, and then I'm kind of disappointed. But I guess it will have to do. I'll instead try to get the folds, the eyelids a bit better. And I lost, there it is. Especially the corner of the eyes, they really need to be deep with this face in particular, I feel. And I feel that Sculptris Pro is again showing its very strong side here in this project, in this particular situation, where you just want to add a little bit of detail and see how it allows me to really just go in and add like a few wrinkles that are really fine, even though I'm not increasing the whole geometry of the head. So that's being a really good one. All right, let me add a sphere then, and we'll see if that helps me to get the shape of the eye right. So I'll go back to my primitives and add a sphere to where the eye is. I'm just guessing the size. To be honest, I've never really looked into how big the eyeball actually is. But that's definitely something I'm curious about. So then I place it here, and now I'll have to adjust kind of the geometry to fit around. Is the position good? Maybe here? Actually, yeah, that will help me. Let's go back to the move brush then, and I'll adjust the position of all the eyelids and everything. And yeah, I kind of agree. That's really helping me. Another thing that goes through my mind when I make this is the contrast between the wrinkles. There should be very few large-scale wrinkles, and with a lot of much more higher frequency, there should be very fine wrinkles. And I try to get that balance very clear so that it's easy to read where the big wrinkles are and where the small, finer wrinkles are. That's another thing you might want to think about when you're working on a face. Oh, there we go. And with eyes, also one thing that I realized is that the thickness of the lids is very, very important and easy to get wrong. And it's usually a lot thicker than you would imagine. You can really from the distance even see that the lid has a thickness. And so I'm trying to make that show again here in the sculpt. And then finally, as for the shape of the eyes, if you want one more little advice on how I look at it, if you look at the highest point of the eye and the lowest point of the eye, you see that the upper lid has its highest point more inside than the lower lid, where it's like more outside. So you get a diagonal kind of going this way between these 2 points. And if you compare inside and outside point, you can vary that obviously, but for this character I chose to make the inner one higher up to give him kind of an older look, because I feel like becoming older it would kind of drag it down the eye on the side. I'm not entirely sure though if that's how it works, but feels sort of right. Should we leave it like that for now? Maybe I can continue working on the mouth a little bit. And come back later. Yeah, okay then. Let's leave it here and I'll move on. What else can I do? Making his forehead a little bit stronger. Bit higher, a bit flatter, kind of. But I also want to make sure that his hair comes together in the tip here. It's kind of a very important part of his hairstyle. Okay, I'll leave it like this for now, maybe. And then for the chin, I was thinking we could have a bit more detail here. The haircut. What should I fix about the haircut? Isn't it perfect? Okay, let's give his hair a bit more detail. But I really like his hairstyle. I wonder how I can do the tips though. It's a bit difficult. Maybe I should use the move brush and try to make it a bit spiky. I could use an alpha brush, I guess, but I'm just sketching it at this point. It's not too detailed yet. Maybe it doesn't look too good, but well, the idea shows at least. So one little problem that I found with Sculptris Pro at this point is that it sometimes gives you artifacts in your geometry. It will make like holes and it will be hard to get rid of them. Like here, for example, they might like shoot a hole into your model. And the only way to really get rid of those is to take a really rough brush and go over it, or to use maybe a pinch brush and to merge it together. If it allows me to. But it kind of doesn't let me. Maybe if I turn it off and then I pinch it. And then I go back into that mode and then I brush over it. Maybe then I can get rid of it. Yeah, no, it doesn't really want me to. Oh, now I managed. Anyways. I think one more place where we can really show his personality is with the back side of his neck. He is not too muscular yet, but what if we just added like a lot of muscles to his back and kind of show that he's really strong. I guess if I was to model his entire body, then he would be like a super strong person with huge body and everything. I'm not too sure about how the anatomy works actually. Haven't looked too much into it there, but I'll just make some guesses here that look alright. Oh, that looks nice. Let's give him a really, really wide neck. And again, the idea kind of is to give him this triangular shape that really makes him look powerful in a way. And from this angle, for example, it doesn't seem to work quite yet, so I want to work a little bit on silhouette. Maybe push the neck further to the back, like this. Make his head smaller even in the back, make it flatter, to really emphasize this shape of the neck and the muscles showing. It kind of tells the story that the head is actually not the important part, that it's the muscles. But I must be careful not to make it like he's just fat, so that's not what I want. Maybe something like this. As a rough shape. So, reflecting once again now on my drawings, my sketches that I showed at the beginning of the stream, and how they now apply to my 3D art, I am honestly very surprised actually how well it worked. I did this head entirely from imagination. There is no reference for it at all, and this would be something like that I could have not done without my practice of these construction methods and just practicing drawing a face 100 times, experiencing my mistakes and finding out what in particular doesn't work well, and fixing those mistakes and learning these lessons, bringing them over to 3D now. It really helps me to achieve better results, even though I did not sculpt for a month. So it's really an interesting experience, I have to say. Yeah, I leveled up. That's pretty much it. And see how again, even in the hair, I try to apply sharp edges. It's really all connected in a way. The style has to be consistent in that sense to really tell the story about this character. And also I try to still make sense of the shape, so it's not like just the shape, but you see how, for example, here I tried to figure out how the hair would split up in order to make this shape actually happen. So kind of the hair is coming from the back and splitting up, going to these two directions. And as for detail, just a little advice, I said it before kind of already, but it's always good to think about high frequency detail and low frequency detail. So first try to get the basic shapes done in a very rough way without having much details, and then add fine details very selectively to the spots where it's needed. If you get that right, you probably get a really good result. Of course, I'm struggling with that myself still, but getting the theory, the idea is definitely the first step to learning how to do it. All right. That looks pretty nice, actually. Hello, Myersia. Thanks for joining the stream. I actually have classes after this. I have maybe another 20 minutes. And then I have to go and attend class. What do I have today? I have to attend a class for legal strategy. But it's interesting. I'm not complaining about it. Hello. Too bad when people join like at the very end of the stream. Feel free to ask any questions to all the people who just recently joined. I will be here for another 10 to 20 minutes, so if there's any questions you want me to answer. I don't know when the next time is that I'll be streaming again. I'm always very spontaneous about it, so definitely if you have anything you want to know or ask, I'll see if I can answer. So, as for my schedule, I wonder what should I do as my target. I'm trying to get like 2 hours a day recently because that's the best I can do with my classes, but I wish I could do more. I just remembered my spring breaks. That was actually so amazing because I had every day from the morning until the night to just work on projects. It's really fun actually. All right. A stronger nose? Sure, that sounds like a good idea. He has a weak nose. Didn't realize. Does that look stronger? Well, I'm trying. Ah, maybe here. Here we can do something. Yeah, that's a strong nose. Well, maybe I went a bit too far, but it doesn't look bad, so I might just leave it. Alright, and finally I should give him just a lower lip so that it doesn't look like he doesn't have a mouth. But there's really not too much to do. Just want to hint at it, like this. And if I could give him a little bit of more detail at the ears, that would be nice. Something like this, maybe. Just hinting at it at the moment, but I want to focus more on the rougher shapes. So let's see what I can do with the ears. I want to make them a bit more interesting. Giving him some strange ears. Maybe not quite like this. Is that a good idea? I'm not sure. I'll work on his chin instead. I think that's more interesting. There we go. Alright then, I guess... Oh, there's a question. How can I start with 3D modeling? I'm kind of done now with this model. I'll just answer the last questions coming in and then I'll call it a day. So for all of those who are here now, completely new, thinking about starting out with 3D modeling, let me give you some advice here. In 3D modeling, I think 3D modeling, the skills that you need there, you can separate into two categories: technical skills and artistic skills. And turns out that for technical skills, you need, on the one hand, just the knowledge, which you have to remember. So you might want to go to the wiki page and read about how all the tools and features work, and you try to memorize them. But that's not enough entirely, because you also need speed to be able to apply the knowledge. So you will very likely have to practice a lot, really a lot, all these simple tools that you learn in order to become fluent in using them. So just on the technical side of things now, you have to spend a lot of time on getting fluent and just memorizing the knowledge. Now, sorry, I just want to quickly figure one thing out. Where's the materials gone? Wasn't it used? Didn't it used to be here? Maybe here. So on the other hand, you need the artistic skills, which is very difficult to learn in that sense, because there is no right and wrong. You need to have a mindset of somebody who, you know, can come up with creative ideas and find things that are interesting. You need to be excited yourself about all these things that you work on. You need to really like what you're doing, and so doing two things at the same time is really not the best idea. Where is it again? That's what I want. Is it? Oh, I'm not sure. Anyways, just trying to get a final render of this model. All right, so you need artistic skills as well, and that requires you to be kind of really interested and open-minded into all kinds of things, and so keep that in mind and just get started. I mean, you know, you'll need lots of practice, and you know you'll have to be passionate about it. Don't get too stressed about it. Do it because you like it, and just keep going. Start with little things and just never stop. That's really the only thing you can do. The more work you do, the more time you spend on it, the better. And I can only tell you that the most professional people probably spend more than 8 hours a day working on their projects, or at least thinking about it. So that's that. Yeah, and as Jester is suggesting, going for like tutorials like Blender Guru is definitely a good idea. He has a beginner guide apparently. Definitely get started at places such as that, and I hope you'll get there. Just never give up and think about your own opinion. Try to be yourself and don't try to do it for others necessarily. Is that it then, I guess? How long are we streaming already? 1 hour 30 minutes. I'm really happy with the outcome. Is it just because I'm in a good mood, or is it because it's different? It's sometimes hard to tell. I'll have to come back and look at this sculpt later on. But what I did different this time is that I really based it on the proportion systems and everything what I learned from drawing this time. And it ended up helping a lot. Anyways, as there are not too many questions coming in the chat, I hope you enjoyed it so far. I'm actually really happy that the 26 of you who are still here watched all this time. I mean, I'm just talking. I'll see. I think I'll try to, you know, get more interesting things coming up soon again, but I don't know about my schedule yet. I'll just see what's possible. And one thing I'll do for sure is to let you know about the 1,000 Faces challenge as soon as I have the other drawings. Then I will do another stream or video just sharing my insights. If anybody's interested, check out my Patreon page. I gotta say that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, for your support and everything. Have a good day. Bye bye.